Okay, so take me through. That's the other thing I hear a lot about lawyers, especially when they're early in their journey of starting their firm, that they're scared to spend any money. They're scared to hire anybody. They think it's just money out the door. I'm not going to make any money. Why would I do this? What led you to say, I'm willing to take the risk, the investment to do this?
Being a little bit on the younger side, honestly. My view of it was I did this at a good time. I just turned 31. I don't have a kid yet. I'm going to give this everything I got for 3-4 years. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I got a lifetime of money. I made money before. My wife's doing okay. Is what it is, right? So that was kind of my view of it. And that's why I think there is a sweet spot to starting your firm. And I think it is a little bit on the younger side before you have all the obligations. I could be wrong, though. I know there's many different ways to do it. A lot of PI attorneys do it when they're 40 and they got the huge case coming in and they can cash out on that. Some other people might do it when they have a huge client that's ready to leave Biglaw with them. It's a great time to do it. But I think if you're building from scratch, you got to do it early. It's going to take time.
And it sounds like you're pretty tech forward. You invest in systems.
Extremely.
Welcome to the Founding Partner Podcast. Join your host, Jonathan Hawkins, as we explore the fascinating stories of successful law firm founders. We'll uncover their beginnings, triumph over challenges, and practice growth. Whether you aspire to launch your own firm, have an entrepreneurial spirit, or are just curious about the legal business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Founding Partner Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Hawkins. This is a podcast where I get to interview interesting law firm founders and leaders, find out about their journeys and lessons they've learned along the way. And today, my guest is Andrew Lacy. He is the founder of the Lacy Employment Law Firm in Pennsylvania. I have been following him on LinkedIn for quite a while now. And I said, man, I got to get this guy on here because he posts some good stuff. So, Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So, tell us just a little bit about your firm. So we'll get into the backstory and all that, but, what's it like now? Where are you? What do you do exactly? How many attorneys? All that kind of stuff.
So we're a plaintiff's employee rights firm. That's all we do. We only represent workers. We only operate on a contingency fee. So some firms in the market do hybrid, some bill the employees. We are only contingency fee. We do discrimination, retaliation type cases, mostly in federal courts, some state court stuff like that. No wage and hour cases, no class actions. That's our laser focus right now. Currently, I have 3 attorneys under me, and we're looking at our 4th to extend the offer very soon. So yeah, we're located in New Jersey and Pennsylvania right now, mainly in Pennsylvania with an expanding New Jersey practice.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about that. So I know you got more than one location. I want to hear how that goes, but just let's step back. Growing a firm is not easy. And every time you add a person, it's like a new personality comes in, more people you have to manage. How's that been for you, learning how to do that? And just I call it, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back approach to, the way the law firm gets built. So how's that been for you?
I think that's actually been and it's early, and maybe I'll knock on some wood here and I'll regret saying this, but I actually think that's been the easier and better part, because we spent a long time operating with good profit margins, just refining systems, anticipating what it would look like to scale with multiple attorneys. So we're now seeing that when attorneys are coming in and they're learning my system, my way of doing things, my training program, the learning curve isn't as steep, and the questions I'm getting aren't as many, because I like working with new attorneys. I don't like bringing in more senior attorneys to train and undo some bad habits and figure out what they know and don't know. I like a clean slate.
That's right. The older folks bring a lot of baggage. This is the way I've always done it.
I would never say older. I would say more experienced folks.
Come in. That's right. Yeah, you got me there. Yeah. Folks have been around for a while. Yeah. So how have you found it hard to find lawyers to bring on?
Not at all.
Okay. Where do you usually find your folks, and how do you go about it? I'm curious.
Well, the LinkedIn presence helps a lot, because by the time I post a job opening, I have dozens of people applying. They usually say, I saw you on LinkedIn. I see what you're about. I like what you're doing. I think this is a place where I could see myself based on the personality you put online. So that's probably the most beneficial thing. And I think, too, I was actually talking to a law firm owner before we got on about this. I think some people, and again, knock on some huge wood here, I think they try to hire the unicorn, that person who can do everything from start to finish, someone that can, in my case, talk to the client, draft the complaint, and then take the case all the way through trial and be siloed. But my approach is a little bit different. I only hire people who have mock trial experience and who are comfortable being in court. Because from my view, the other stuff can be commoditized, like the writing, the research, and all those things. A lot more supply than demand there. But the supply of really good trial lawyers is small. So my view is to try to get them early before they get down the big law path and can't get out of those shackles.
I like that approach. I like it. So you got at least 2 offices in like physical offices in Pennsylvania. Do you have a physical office in New Jersey?
We have very small physical offices in both locations.
And so
all 3 locations, yes.
And so your team, is it in person, virtual, hybrid?
It's virtual. There's no come into the office policy. The offices exist for 2 reasons: marketing and in case the attorney so chooses to because they want to.
Yeah, you got to have that location for the Google juice, right?
Google juice, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. So let's go back. So I guess, first of all, why be a lawyer? I'm always curious.
I always wanted to be. I thought being in court and trying cases was cool. I'm kind of a 90s kid. So, I thought Johnny Cochran, man, just everyone fearing that guy. You used to, when I was like 12 or 13, to say like, oh, you're guilty, call Johnny. He's so good that he's so persuasive that he can get someone off of murder. I'm like, that's a really interesting power to have. I always wanted to help people as well. So those are 2 big reasons. And then the third, I thought my skill set would mesh well with law, just how I am as a person and the way I think, those types of things.
And so when you went to law school, you knew you wanted to try cases?
From day one.
That's awesome. But then you decided to go to Biglaw out of law school, which, and I know some people that went Biglaw that actually tried a ton of cases, but a lot of people that go to Biglaw don't really get that experience. What about you?
I tried 2 cases in 5 years. So I raised my hand for a couple of pro bono federal cases and got into trial twice, got into court twice on those. So, it's probably better than about 95, 98% of people get to do in the first 5 years of practice. And other than that, like I picked a practice area where I could do a ton of depositions at an early age. And it was just kind of luck those things happened to exist at my firm. I think at a lot of firms, those opportunities don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it both ways, but at the Biglaw, like largely they're hard to find for the younger lawyers. I've seen some. So I went to more of a small boutique litigation type firm to start. So we got thrown to the wolves real quick. But I remember I'd been out, I don't know, 8 or 9 years, hundreds of depositions at that point. And we were on a case with a big law firm, and there was an 8th year, my year, whatever it was, 8 or 9. And that was their first deposition. And I was like, wow.
Very common.
And it was tough. Yeah, it was tough for him. But we'll say, okay. So you started out at Biglaw, you did that for a while, and then you sort of stepped out, and then you did a federal clerkship.
Yes.
So what led you to that? Why did you decide to sort of jump off and do that?
Dumb luck. Someone was leaving their clerkship 6 months early. Judge needed to fill that quick. I barely had to apply. And from my view, well, everyone in law school told me that this is a great experience, so why not? And then also I thought I would get to see a huge docket of cases at various stages, which has been extremely helpful to my practice over the years. Probably the most single helpful thing I think I've done other than trial ad.
And I imagine your employment practice is heavy federal court, or is it exclusive federal court?
Just about. We're trying to sneak our way into state court on a few cases, but it's mainly federal out here in PA.
So tell me, so I feel like I lucked into a clerkship too. I sort of have, and it was cool, man. I loved it. Although I did it straight out of law school. And for me, it was sort of like the right, it was like a in between. So you're still reading cases and doing that. And you're not, it's sort of a good in between of the theory from law school and then actually getting into practicality. So what about you? What was your experience like?
It was the same. I mean, especially having done it for a couple of years, I'd taken a few dabs. I tried the case at that point, and then just seeing, it's more reassuring because you got to see a wide range of things that were crap coming from big law, small law, medium law, and then some really great things coming from big law, small law, medium law, whatever you might have, right? So I thought that was like a confidence boost because I can do better than that, a lot of these things. And then also just seeing the different ways lawyers came in, the judges' commentary on lawyer styles, sort of the courtroom rumors around the chambers on who's good, who's not good. The person everyone comes to see when they step into the courtroom, has a full courtroom because all the clerks know that person's coming through, and it's a great watch if they're doing a trial, that type of thing.
Yeah, I did like the inside baseball aspect of it. That was
it.
That was interesting. I'll tell you the other weird thing for me. I don't know. Do you ever practice in the courthouse where you clerked?
I do all the time.
Okay. What was your experience going back when you were on the other side? Did they treat you differently? You're now the outsider, or was it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to treat everyone like everyone else. I'm still recused off of my judges' cases because we're, pretty close, and that's not fair. And it's nice, I know the judges, I know what they're like, I know when I'm going to get summary judgment granted against me, basically down to a science at this point, because I know all the individual judges so well, just from reputation or experience or whatever it is. And then sometimes, I had a judge comment, Mr. Lacy, you know better. You were a former clerk in this courthouse, and you know to file this local civil rule thing that most people don't know to file. So, there's some expectations there.
I'll tell you the other thing too. There's this allure with the federal judges. They're sort of scary, and some of them can be. But sort of when you've been on the inside, it's not quite as scary. I don't know if you had that experience or not, but
same experience. I was terrified of my judge before I clerked for her. I thought she was, which I still do. I think she's one of those brilliant people I've ever met. But then you clerk for her, and you see her softer side or warmer side. She's an amazing boss. They're people too, right?
Yeah.
They're people too.
So tell me about, Biglaw reputation. You're just churning and billing and working your ass off. What was it like going from that environment to the clerkship? I imagine you got to step back a little bit.
Yeah, I beat a couple video games, I don't know if you know The Last of Us, that TV show. I beat that game that 8-month stretch. That's kind of my hobby. It's like, this is awesome. I'm working 9 to 5, playing video games in the evenings, weekends off. I'm like, what do I do with all this time?
You forgot you had all that time. Yeah.
I forgot I had it, Like, oh, this is how the other 80% of the country lives, working 9 to 5, coming home.
Yeah. So then, okay, your clerkship ended, and then you jumped back into the fire. You went back to Biglaw, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so, did you know you're always going to go back, or did you think about maybe doing something else before you went back there? What was your thought process there?
I applied to a few plaintiffs firms, and I'm from Pittsburgh, so my move was Pittsburgh, federal clerkship in Pittsburgh, and then my wife and I decided, maybe could go to a bigger city, try that out. So we moved to Philadelphia without any connections. So during that time, I'm marketable as a federal clerk. I started applying to the big plaintiff PI firms. I don't know if you're familiar with them, like Klein Spector and Saltzman Lucy. The people get these national MDLs, and I had a defense background on the product side too, so thought it would be a good fit. And then I bombed all the interviews. I was like, okay, time to go back to Biglaw. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, I tell this story. People have listened to me, they hear it over and over. But, I went to law school wanting to be a plaintiff's trial lawyer.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I've never done it, but that's what I wanted to do. And I could not get a job. That's like, they did not hire straight out of law school. And then I ended up sort of going down a path and never got off. But it can be hard to get those plaintiff jobs if you don't just create it yourself.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a fellow law firm owner about that today. We're talking about hiring, and he's looking at people with 4 to 6 years of experience. And I said, look, you can catch people at year 1 when they still really want to do this, and they're going to savor every court opportunity, every deposition, every mediation. They're going to be asking their friends, what are they doing right now? They're going to be telling them, oh, I'm sitting behind the desk. And suddenly your job looks a lot better than other people's jobs, right? And then they're going to expect a lot less pay because they're trading that for experience right now, and they know it, and they love it. So, and that the whole point about getting down that path, they don't have the families yet, the handcuffs, the obligations. They can give you a couple years before they expect, mid 6 figures or however much they want to get paid.
I tell you, you've seen it. It's hard coming from a Biglaw, particularly where you're getting a fat salary, to then say, all right, I'm going to give up a huge chunk of that for the risk of maybe a contingency upside. I think if you do it and you stick with it long term, you're going to do better. But in the short term, you're going to take a hit, and a lot of people just won't do it.
I think most people won't do it unless you start out and that's what you know. And then you also have to figure, right? Like if I have a first year right now, his big hit's not going to be until year 3. When he's basically getting ready to start trying cases, because it takes a 2-year, 3-year life cycle, right? So he's got to wait it out, but he can wait it out now. That sounds a lot better than being 32 and waiting until you're 36 for that big hit.
Yeah, That's right. And you've got some kids and lots of
Got kids in
obligations.
there. I mean, I don't know. How do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So you went back to Biglaw and then eventually you left there. And then I think you left there to start your firm. Is that right?
That's right. It's a Biglaw to my own firm.
Okay. What pushed you to do it? What was the thing that pushed you to do it?
Year 5, do you want to make partner in Biglaw? I think you got to answer that question for yourself. I think everyone at the firm does, right? The answer is yes. You need to, really dig in and start doing those things to prepare for that. Getting business, figuring out firm dynamics, politics, on top of your 2,000 hour billable requirement. The answer is no for me. I was a good associate, I think well regarded, but the answer is still no. It's not what I wanted. I didn't want to be an equity partner in 10 years at a big law firm. So I was like, all right, maybe like a federal prosecutor or a state prosecutor. I'm like, oh, I got to put people in jail. And I don't know if that really vibes with my personality. Public defender, it's a huge pay cut. And all my clients are going to jail. That seems really too emotional for me. And I was like, all right, in-house. That looks good. I was like, well, now I got to manage a portfolio of cases and I can't litigate. And did that interview. I was like, all right, that sucks. I was like, all right, plaintiffs firms. Well, I just got rejected from all the good ones in Philadelphia, so I don't think they're going to hire me. So I was like, all right, what's next? All right, plaintiffs employment firms. And like, interview with one, and the deal was like you could make 33% of your revenue with no salary. I'm like, that doesn't sound great. I bet you I can get my own employment cases, and I could keep 100% of that minus overhead. And that was the bet I made.
I really like how you took me through that thought process, and it's spot on. So, why employment versus personal injury? Why, had you done employment work before, or is it something
No.
you just all right? I'm going to do it, and why?
2 reasons. One was a big advantage that my wife is a defense employment lawyer, so I figured I could bounce early questions off of her. And then 2, the market. So I'm from Pittsburgh, and at the time, I saw no one in Pittsburgh was optimizing their website for search engine optimization. So I'm sure you've had people on the podcast that talk through that, and so on board people. But I'm like, okay, I bet you if I learn this myself, I can rank a website in Pittsburgh while living in Philadelphia during the pandemic and start getting cases. I proved that theory right in like 2 months. I'm like number 1 on Google in Pittsburgh. So now I'm getting flooded with like 30 to 50 cases, a month for just me. So yeah, that was basically the thought process. I was like, why go personal injury 5 years out? Even it was there for me even a little bit. I'm like, do I really want to start being the guy grinding for referrals with, with, I don't know if they do like nurses or whatever, the chiros, and getting the terrible cases from the big firms and paying off a third referral fee. And that's going to be my start because I can't put up a billboard. I don't have money. I can't do pay-per-click. I don't have money. So yeah, that's basically.
So let's talk about your Pittsburgh office. So you there's no Google or the very little Google presence. You get there and you become number 1, and you start flooded with the calls. I imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, just dealing with the incoming calls could be a full-time job probably for a while. You had to figure that out. How do you screen the clients? You're dealing with that all day. You can't do the actual work. So how did you handle that?
Not well at first. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Was always having calls from day one was actually the worst thing that happened to me as a law firm owner, because I thought I was doing everything right, because all the PI lawyers told me, just go out there and get cases. That's all you got to do, and how are you getting cases? How are you getting cases? How are you getting cases? Well, that works on personal injury. It doesn't work so well in employment law, because you got to vet these cases. You can't just take on everything. And then on top of that, every case you do take is an emotional roller coaster with the client. So you have to take the right cases. And then you have the right system to take these cases, right? So it was bad. Like, it was a bad thing that happened to me early on. I didn't have any money coming in the door. Everything was a contingency fee. I didn't know how to charge people. I didn't know how to set up a trust account. It was a train wreck at first.
And I imagine, anybody that gets fired is pissed off and they think there was a bad reason for it. Maybe it's just, you're just not a good employee. So you probably had to sort through a lot of that, I imagine.
A lot of that, a lot of people who, feel that they were, there's a lot of reasonable people, a lot of people not so reasonable, a lot of pissed off people, a lot of respectful people. It's a huge bag. And you have to have good systems for figuring out how to get to the right people.
And I don't know, what's it like up there, just a plaintiff employment case? I know, in Georgia, it's an uphill battle. I'll say that. Is it that way up there, or is it pretty even? What's the general sort of view of in the federal bench of a plaintiff type employment case?
I'd say about the exact same as the Northern District of Georgia. I have some friends down there who do pretty well, and I think we're trading notes and we're seeing about the same things.
We probably well when we go offline, we'll trade names. I bet I know them. So okay, so you're in Philly. You start sort of the Pittsburgh office. Did you also start the Philly office at the same time, or did you say I'm just going to do the Pittsburgh office?
Did the Pittsburgh office for a whole year, maybe a year and some change.
And that's how you sort of learned how to screen and develop cases and all that. When did you decide to open the Philadelphia office?
About a year, I think, and then some change into it. The plan was like to plant the seed early because Philly's not the same as Pittsburgh. There's some sophisticated marketers in Philadelphia. So I thought, and I think I was correct, this is going to take me 2 or 3 years to really, start carving out the market for myself. So I was like, I need to start this now. So by the time I'm ready to take on all these extra cases in 2 or 3 years, the pipeline is going to be there in Philly. And I think I was right about that one, actually. It took about 2 or 3 years. I mean, it was a steady increase up. And then this year's been just,
Okay, so you got tons of clients. When did you hire your first attorney in this timeline?
Oh, right around year one.
Okay, because that's a whole new dynamic. Hiring, recruiting, all that, and then onboarding, managing, delegating. How did you learn all that?
Not well at first. So she didn't last very long. I don't think she's a wonderful person, and there were reasons for the departure. Nothing to do with either me or her. And then this was one of the hardest points in my career. I was left with 15 cases in litigations, a portfolio of 60 to 65 cases, which doesn't sound a lot for a personal injury attorney, but for an employment attorney, that's like 10-hour, 12-hour days just litigating the things. And then I was covering all of it. So then I had to hire again immediately after that, about 4 months later. And luckily, he's worked out pretty well for me. He's been with me about 2.5 years. But I didn't hire another attorney for a while after him because I was so traumatized from that experience. I'm like, I'm never doing this again where I don't have the systems in place. I don't have the pieces in place to support a new attorney. I don't know cash flow. I don't know my revenue. I don't know my profit margin. I don't know how I'm going to make money on these cases. I know I got the cases, but how are they valuable? Those are all different things I learned over the last 2.5 years.
So for people out there that may be in Biglaw, thinking about starting a firm, what kind of advice would you give them to set it up for success?
Bill by the hour. In like 9 out of 10 cases, you'd be better off billing by the hour at first.
That's good. You're dissuading all your competition from coming in on the plaintiff employment side there.
Maybe. I want more. I think there needs to be more good lawyers. I feel strongly that the bar needs to be stronger. There's a lot of barriers to entry to do what I do.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, so you said your wife is a defense attorney, so you at least had her. She was working, I assume, so you had some runway where you didn't have to be making money immediately, I assume.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's helpful.
And then I had Biglaw savings. So I had a little mini war chest. As in, I didn't need to like downsize my house and sell all my stuff.
All right, so you were in Philly. You started the Pittsburgh. You're like, this is going pretty well. You sort of figured it out. Then you've created the Philly. So when did you move to New Jersey? How did that come about?
About a year and a half ago. Values are much higher. My other associate, he's barred in New Jersey, so he was proacting into some of the Pennsylvania stuff, and it just made sense to expand there because then you can actually be in state court in New Jersey. It's one of the better jurisdictions in the country. So the hope and starting to materialize a bit was that, okay, these cases are more competitive than even Philadelphia. But if I plant the seed now, by the time I'm ready to harvest it, same type of deal. I'm going to be ready to handle the cases that are coming in.
So every time you add a jurisdiction and add another attorney, you just add complexity. So how do you manage it?
This is the one thing I think that sets us apart. I have a brilliant COO. So she's created almost a proprietary system within Airtable where we have like 6 different calendar views. We have a whole task management system. We have all these different like automatic script formulas for the statute of limitations, because in employment law, you have 3 on every case and they're all shorter than 2 years. So, if you miss one, you may miss the other. It may be, it's very evaluative at the intake stage of which statute of limitation even applies. So that in and of itself was like a 2-year proprietary process in my view. I mean, she just has a background in that, and she loves it, and she's very good at that type of thing.
Okay. How did you find her? I need somebody like that. How did you find her? We all need somebody like that.
I don't want to put too much of her personal information out there, but I'll just say this was unorthodox. We were working a case together as she was actually a client, and I called the bar and I said, look, this person would be perfect for what I'm trying to do here. And the bar said, there's no issue with you hiring your clients so long as you get informed consent, waivers, and if there ever was a conflict between you and her, you immediately withdraw. Case ended. We never had any problems since. She's been with me for 4 years.
So the answer is you got lucky.
Yeah, again. Again, yes.
I tell you, that's awesome. I mean, sort of the lesson there, and the lesson I've sort of over the years just hits home every time. It's when you find the talent, you got to jump on it, because it is rare. The unicorns are out there, but they're hard to find. But when you see one, you got to create a space and you got to go for them. So it sounds sort of like you recognize that and jumped on it.
Yeah, I mean, really, if I didn't have her for years 2 and 3, I would have made money. Like I was not profitable for 2 years. I'm very open about that on LinkedIn and things like that. If I didn't have her, I probably would have made money. But where I'm sitting today, the infrastructure she built, I'm just amazed. Like I am floored, because she's like showing me these things and she goes, yeah, I thought of this 2 years ago, Andrew. You're just realizing now how important they are. And I'm like, oh. And she said, yeah, I wasn't just, creating these things for the fun of it. I was doing it because I saw the vision that you didn't even see. And I anticipated these points when you were trying to scale. And now I've made everything a lot easier for you to do so.
Wow. So she really is a unicorn. I mean.
Oh yeah. She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
And okay, so take me through, that's the other thing I hear a lot about lawyers, especially when they're early in their journey of starting their firm, that they're scared to spend any money. They're scared to hire anybody. They think it's just money out the door. I'm not going to make any money. Why would I do this? What led you to say, I'm willing to take the risk, the investment to do this?
Being a little bit on the younger side, honestly. My view of it was, I did this at a good time. I just turned 31. I don't have a kid yet. I'm going to give this everything I got for 3-4 years. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I got a lifetime of money. I made money before. My wife's doing okay. Is what it is, right? So that was kind of my view of it. And that's why I think there is a sweet spot to starting your firm. And I think it is a little bit on the younger side before you have all the obligations. I could be wrong. I know there's many different ways to do it. A lot of PI attorneys do it when they're 40 and they got a huge case coming in and they can cash out on that. And some other people might do it when they have a huge client that's ready to leave Biglaw with them. It's a great time to do it. But I think if you're building from scratch, you got to do it early. It's going to take time.
And it sounds like you're pretty tech forward. You invested in systems.
Extremely, yeah.
So you use Airtable. What other sorts of things are in your tech stack?
Actually, my number one tool this year has been Loom. I've recorded myself doing every single piece of litigation process in a life cycle of employment. We have tasks for every single piece of the life cycle of an employment case. I assign a task to every new associate who can see the video and then also see the write-up, which I use like Claude and ChatGPT for, which I've already gone through and revised step by step on how they should do this task. So then I can just swap people in and out. So I have law students do some stuff, some discovery requests, just forward them the task. They see it. They know where things are in the system. I have my whole training system in Airtable systematized because it's all through Loom video walkthroughs. Probably have like 150 of them, honestly. That's where I spent my time this year.
So the Loom videos and the tasks, those are housed within Airtable?
Loom just housed within Loom, and then I have a link to the video within Airtable, and then short SOPs in Airtable for every task. Once they see the task, then they get directed to the longer training manual. They need a refresher. If I haven't done it before, those types of things. And then I used to test them out on like overseas talent to make sure that like it came back right. And I figured they could do it. Someone in the Philippines could do it for $10 an hour. That means that my first year attorney should be able to follow directions and do it right.
So let's talk about Airtable for a minute. I played around with it. It's confusing to me. I mean, it's overwhelming. What was it, the COO that said, let's use Airtable, or was it your idea and then she just happened to know how to do it or figure it out?
I was so anti it for like 3 years. Almost every month, I'd be like, let's just get rid of this and get Lawmatics. Let's get rid of this and get FileVine. Why are we spending all this time, all this effort building out an Airtable? And she's like, no, Andrew, just trust the process. But yeah, you're right. It's confusing. I think you need a builder to help you out. She's a certified builder now. She knows how to put everything in interfaces so it looks great to the team. And in the end, I guess it's kind of saving me money because it's cheaper than having FileVine and LeadDocket combined.
Yeah. Okay. And then in employment cases, there's a fee component typically as part of the damages. So you have to track your time. What do you use to track your time? Is that an Airtable too? Or is it something else?
We just use the task system. So we have standardization for the tasks, and then we have a fee petition. We add up all the tasks and then add up all the emails and calls, and but I don't really want my attorneys to be tracking every single decimal point like they're in Biglaw. One of the attractivenesses of being a plaintiff's lawyer, right? I'm going to put that back on them.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So let's say certain type of pleading, you have sort of pre-assigned what you say is an appropriate amount of time for that. And then at the end of the case, when you need to run the thing, it just assigns that value to it with a rate.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty is more for KPIs. I'm going to try a case 2 or 3 a year, but I need to figure out where our time went, over the course of every case, who did what, who was actually productive on the case. It's one thing if an attorney pulls in like 450 in revenue, but were they actually doing the work to get that or to get lucky on a good break? You need to have that data.
That's cool. So how did you learn how to track and deal with data? As you've grown as the leader of the firm, or did you have a background in it?
No, I've just become obsessive about it over the last year and some change. When we started really becoming profitable, then the question became, how can we optimize and downside the risk of a bad year? Because before I was just fighting for a good year, then I got a really good settlement. And my thought process immediately wasn't happiness. It was this luck? Because I had a home run to get a great year. Home runs only come around every so often. How do I hit the singles and doubles and make sure that we're hitting the same marks, which we did last year? No home runs.
And I imagine really understanding that data of the cases helps you screen cases and determine which ones to accept and reject, I imagine.
Also helps that too. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah. Real quick, if you haven't gotten a copy yet, please check out my book, The Law Firm Lifecycle. It's written for law firm owners and those who plan to be owners. In the book, I discuss various issues that come up as a law firm progresses through the stages of its growth, from just before starting a firm to when it comes to an end. The Law Firm Lifecycle is available on Amazon. Now back to the show. So let's talk a little bit about how you get cases. Obviously, Google, which we sort of talked about, is that your main source? You don't have to give me the secrets, but is it referral based? Is it more digital marketing? Something in between?
I'm happy to do anything. It's 80% Google. It's tough to completely break it down. So I have the data over time, which is interesting because I was never a referral marketer. I don't like giving referral fees. I will, obviously I honor every agreement, diversify my marketing portfolio. But we've actually grown in referrals over time from attorneys to about 20%, which is interesting because I have a huge LinkedIn presence. So I'm assuming that LinkedIn's feeding that part of the engine and then SEO's feeding the other 80%. But then also you can't really track the people who come through Google, but they say that they are actually referred to by an attorney, but the attorney is just like, oh, here's a good person to talk to. Because a lot of people won't actually seek a fee on an employment case like PI. They won't know they can seek a referral fee, or they don't really feel like they want to. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, I have employment colleagues, friends, whatever, that have basically, they tell the PI folks, just economically, it's really hard. It's not the same in terms of the referral fee relationship. I imagine you would agree with that.
100%. It's not the same. There's a lot of tension between our bars on that because they're real aggressive about trying to lock me into some type of fee agreement. I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you right. I don't have meds. I can't tell you this case is worth 3 times meds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess you do have some insurance, but not always.
Not always. Sometimes insurance hurts. Like if I have a high deductible plan, that means I got to push the case through summary judgment just until they start taking me serious because it's still company money and not insurance money.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned LinkedIn. Let's talk about that. So you are, You post a lot of good stuff, on there. What got you involved in LinkedIn?
I just posted about me opening my own firm. I got like 500 likes. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Why don't I just keep doing that? So I did it sporadically for a year or two, not thinking much of it. And I just kept doing it. I'm like, all right. And then eventually I realized, well, maybe I could just do more of this, and it's helping me get cases. And it's a good counterweight to my SEO strategy, because I always like to diversify in case I'm always, as an SEO guy, my ultimate paranoia is changes in the algorithm.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, anything could change at any time. So I'm always like, what's the next thing to start investing my marketing dollars in that no one else is doing? At the time, it was LinkedIn. No one was really doing it back then.
You know, that's the thing about LinkedIn, and you talk about algorithm. I mean, I started LinkedIn 3.5, I don't know, years ago. And early, it was easy. It was easy
Really
right there.
easy. I started in 21. It was
easy. And then they started tweaking things, and I fell off a cliff. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I hadn't changed anything. And it changed. It's a lot harder than it used to be. How have you dealt with that?
consistency and just not caring, because I don't have all my eggs in the LinkedIn basket. I would be hurt, I'm not gonna lie to you, if Google decided to completely upend things, which is the thing I'm preparing for now. I'm preparing for AI SEO, but I also view it as, I'm also smiling because I was at the tail end of regular SEO, kind of at the beginning, middle of LinkedIn, but now I get to be at the beginning of AI SEO. So this is awesome for me because I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So let's stay on LinkedIn for a minute, then we'll go to the AI SEO. So
All
LinkedIn, my experience, which I'm sure is yours too, you get a national and even an international reach. And so you are known internationally probably now, certainly nationally, but you only practice or at least you practice mainly in, Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Do you get referrals from other places, like where let's say the case is in Denver, LA? Do you get those kind of cases?
And sometimes they filter it out through my form. Usually, if it's something good, I'll send it to one of my friends out there. And I don't even ask for a referral fee half the time. I'm just like, just take it. Think of me next time.
And the other thing I've noticed, I'm curious about you. For a while, I posted every day for probably 2 years, every day. I don't do that quite as much anymore, but I post a lot. So there are people locally here in Atlanta that never like a post. They never comment on a post. There's no evidence that they've seen the post. So I have there's no evidence that they've seen it. And then I'll go to a bar event or I'll see them somewhere and they tell me, man, I see your LinkedIn post all the time. It's great, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Do you have that experience?
Same exact experience.
And so I try to tell lawyers to do it. Like, well, I'm never going to get a case out of it. And it's like in-person networking on steroids at scale. So you should do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing else to say there, right?
Yeah. A lot of people they're nervous, put themselves out there. So I guess you weren't, you just did it.
The best advice I got was from a Biglaw partner who's still a good friend of mine. We're in the shameless self-promotion business, and never forget it. Told me that as a first-year associate. I never forgot it.
Well, I like your post. And if anybody out there is not following, they need to go follow you. It's good stuff. How do you come up with your ideas?
I don't have a great system. Honestly, I just wake up and I'm like, what am I thinking about today? And I just write it down and then I post it.
Nice.
Or like if I have it's at night, I'm like, that sucked 2 years ago. I write it down and then I schedule a post. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no real.
I have a note file that I just add things all the time as I think of them. Sometimes I go back and I'm like, yeah, that was not a good idea, but I still write it down.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about, you've grown a lot, sounds like. What's next? What are you looking at down the future?
My ultimate goal has always been to have healthy profit margin for myself and my family, to extract myself from all the things I do not like doing about practicing law, discovery requests, complaints, reviewing that type of stuff. I like motions for summary judgment. I'm a good writer, so I will never probably stop tinkering with that, but eventually I'll probably give it up. Just be trying cases, settling cases, high level strategy in the business, and then running the business. And then just creating the lifestyle I want. I don't want to work 50, 60 hours for the rest of my life. That's why I started the firm, because in 10 years, what do I want to be doing? And I felt like I could make Biglaw equity money working half as much. And that to me seems way better. And if I fall short and make half of Biglaw equity money working half as much, fine. That works too.
So let's talk about that. So the experience, especially from a Biglaw perspective, you're just working your ass off and you say, all right, I'm going to start my firm. I won't have to work as much. But then there comes a point, especially as you're growing it, that you're probably working more. What's been your experience in that regard?
I've definitely worked more. That year, that 2-3 year mark where I was really figuring things out, and I'm always knocking on wood because I'm always thinking it could fall apart still, even today, 5 years later. And there's no evidence that it will, but it could. Yeah, I mean, look, don't start a firm if you want to work less at first. In my view, you start a firm because you want to work less in 10 to 15 years. You want to have something you can sell. You want to have something that you can scale down and still make great money doing, which is it's not an available option as a big law equity partner. They will de-equitize you and they'll throw you out the door if you're not working hard, bringing in cases, bringing in clients, and working 50, 60 hours a week.
That's a great point. The prize for making equity partner is congrats. You got to work twice as much now.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a check. Now be more stressed out and work more. Okay,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound great.
Yeah. All right. So what's a typical week like for you now in terms of in the firm, working on client cases versus on the firm, more leadership type work?
I'd probably say I'm still like 66% in the firm because I have a COO who handles so much of like HR, tech, training, operations, systems, data. So I paid her to be an extension of me on that part of it. So every day I do the same thing. I wake up, I write my LinkedIn post, walk the dog, write my LinkedIn post. Now I'm recording my TikTok video every single day. So I'm like, all right, pay myself first in the marketing, knock it out. And then usually we have our 9 a.m. meeting. We do a little team huddle. I'm all virtual, so I'm very strict on everyone. Puts cameras on 9 a.m., tells you what they did yesterday, one thing they're going to do today, and any roadblocks to success today. Takes 5 minutes. 9:05 to like 11 a.m. is deep work on all my cases, 11:30. And then pretty much all hell breaks loose in the afternoon with like client consults, opposing counsel calls, vendor calls, marketing stuff, strategy on the firm. Like, I don't even know.
Let me ask you strategy on client consulting calendaring. How do you handle that? Do you have, what's your system for that in terms of the leads coming in, they get screened, I guess, somehow, and then you get consults scheduled on your calendar somehow, and then you do the consults. Take me through that process.
Okay. So we filter everything through a form. We can't qualify a lead without the form being filled out. It's not PI, and we just have to recognize that. I go through and I have an AI sort of agent in Airtable that gives me a basic like no, automatically declined. So then they get automatically declined. They get kicked an email, their non-engagement letter, and put on a nice drip campaign for like 10 weeks with like helpful employment information. If they have, they qualify, I take a closer look. Then I start sounding out cases based on priority. So huge case, high damages, highly paid employee. They're not hiring my first year. That's going to me. I'm gonna close them. I have to sell them, right? Because someone else will, and they're not going to hire the second or third year. If it's something that I think they could reasonably close themselves, then that's how I assign it out. Click of a button, they get a link, being the client. They get follow-up emails until they booked through my Calendly. And then once they book through the Calendly, they get another series of drip and follow-up emails all the way up until the initial consultation. Initial consultation happens. If they then are qualified again, that we think that they're going to become a client, we have them fill out one more little form. That's automated. Once we get that back, engagement letter is automated. Once we get that back, they're now moved forward in our case file, cases open, file folders created, all that good stuff, and then our demand letters are signed out.
That sounds awesome. That's incredible. I got some details here. So the email drip campaign, what do you use for that?
We're using Beehive.
Okay.
That's actually a new thing.
What did you use before that? Is that the whole?
That's a new initiative,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
That's a new marketing stream.
And then that obviously talks to Airtable.
Yeah, so Airtable tags it, and then it immediately gets kicked into Beehive, and then the drip campaign starts.
Okay, so who built that out for you? Your COO?
Of course.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
With my, she always gets mad at me too because I could have done it myself, and then she's like, Andrew, no. I'm like, because I like it too. I like that stuff too. She's like, stay out of this. I'm like, all right, fine.
So let's talk about, I really like the ones you turned down. You sent them the non-engagement letter, which from an ethics standpoint, perfect, dead on. But then you have this drip campaign. That's awesome. Do you ask for a Google review somewhere in there too? Or you're
Not yet. I might. Right now, we're just kind of measuring metrics because Beehive's cool because you can see open rates, click through rates, all those types of things. We're just basically testing what works. So the first email is a very empathetic email. It basically says like, all right, here's the real reason why we didn't take your case. Not what someone else is going to tell you. And we just go through it for information purposes only. It comes down to economics. It comes down to, most employment lawyers are overworked, overburdened. Just because I said no doesn't mean that you don't have a valuable case. It's very hard to even predict, but we can't extend free consults to everyone. And then I acknowledge, all that they're going through at that time. It's a very high rate open email. It's about 50%. And then the next email they get is understanding their rights for the EEOC, because probably 60% of people are never going to find a lawyer who call one. So I'm like, okay, here's the EEOC process. I give them a drip email about that. And then the next email is, here's what could sink your EEOC case, because there's a lot of confusion on filling out the questionnaire versus filing a charge, which one's right, which one's wrong. And then the next thing I send them is some templates on how to fill out their own charge. And then the money email for me is actually after that for the people who filled out the charge, didn't find a lawyer, and now they're at a mediation. I tell them to call me back if the mediation happens, because then we can jump into the mediation for them and then help them out then. Because usually if there's a mediation scheduled, so that's a case worth evaluating again. Because all my lawyers got to do is go in and step into the mediation. So we're trying to turn our non-engaged people at like 300 people a month into a new marketing referral source.
That is really, man, this is high level stuff. So what is the cadence on the drips? Is it, early on, it's probably pretty quick. And then obviously the mediation will happen months probably from the initial rejection, we'll call it. So is that spaced out?
Yeah, I think right now we have up to 12 weeks. So the mediation kind of money-ish email comes around week 5, with a thought process being that they're just going to remember that they opened it or saw the title. And then you never know which ones are going to open. We have an email telling them, hey, you can call us back, and if you need a PI referral, we have a network of people to do that for you too. So it's all about trying to add value to the client in various times in their life. We have an email about unemployment and how they, the information about the fact that they could still file even if they have an employment case and won't hurt them. Not a lot of people know that. Even if they have a lawyer, they may not know that, because I get that question a lot. And sometimes I forget to tell people. So that's the process, basically.
You just given a masterclass, really. I mean, this is really good stuff. Other people listening to this is really, really high level good stuff. Do you embed videos? Are you embedding your Loom videos, or is it all text?
It's all text right now. It's early, so we're still playing with what works. And I'm kind of a million ideas at once type of guy, and then I forget about. So like we're always going to come back and refine, and that's why I have my COO. She's the one that holds me down and like, all right, finish this one, Andrew, before you move on to your next TikTok thing that you're trying to figure out.
I'm with you, man. I live that every damn day. All right, moving on. I say I'm chasing squirrels. I'm everywhere. So let's talk about TikTok. You mentioned TikTok. So how long have you been on that, and what's your success, or how do you feel about that?
Been on it for a year, and up until 3 weeks ago, I had 150 followers. And then I don't know what I'm allowed to say here. I also just say I got mad. I'm like, I'm looking at all these people that are influencers in the employment space with, some of you have 2 million followers. I'm like, how am I only getting 150, and these people are getting 2 million? So then I was like, maybe I should just learn the app, because when I put my mind on something, I learn it. I'm usually pretty good at it. And if I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't really work that hard at it. I made some videos, sent to an editor, and then that was that. And I started really working with them. Like, I can just do this myself in 10 minutes per video. And people like that a lot more than these like fancy cut scenes, cut in, cut out. And then I just had one blow up for like 130,000 views last week. So now I'm at like 1,500 followers. So, I'm just going to keep the gravy train going. And I've already gotten like 30, 40, 50 people reach out over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, that's my 2026 strategy. TikTok, video, YouTube. That's the direction people are going.
I like it. So I have a similar approach. Every year I try sort of a new big marketing initiative that's going to be my focus for the year. And then I stack, because I'm with you. I have 1,000 ideas, and if I do them all, I'm going to do none of them right, and I'll probably stop all of them and never get any of them done. So I always pick one big one. So it sounds like TikTok is yours. Well, I guess in conjunction with YouTube. Do you have a big YouTube channel now?
I haven't started. That's the next frontier. So my thing this year was the newsletter, LinkedIn, mastering that. So it's mastering the text. Now towards the end of this year, I think I'm going to be mastering the video. And then towards the next year, that's my goal, start mastering the video.
And so the newsletter, the email newsletter?
Yeah, the drip campaign or whatever I do. That was my brainstorming project of this year.
So other than the drip campaign that eventually ends, do you have like an email newsletter that you send out to everybody?
No.
Okay. You got to put that on the list too.
That on the list.
That works. Trust me.
That's on there. It's on there.
And everybody that's listening, sign up for mine if you're not on mine right now.
Exactly.
It's a short and sweet email to lawyers about practice and tips and things like that. So yeah, with the amount of people that are coming through all your lead channels, I mean, your list is probably thousands. I mean, probably a huge list. You could really do some things with that, I think.
Yeah.
Give it to your COO.
Yeah, exactly. She's this is percolating in her brain.
Well, cool. Well, I want to sort of wrap this up, but you mentioned video games. Do you have time to do things for fun, and what kind of things do you do?
I like playing video games, hanging out with my wife. Just got back into basketball. In Philadelphia, there's no indoor courts, so I had to buy this like $200 a month membership, and I fought it forever. And so I just did it. All right, I'm gonna do this, and it's been fantastic. That's basically it. I like working on my firm too. Part of it's a hobby for me.
Yeah. So for people out there, well, first of all, thanks for coming on, Andrew. This has been real fun.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
And I'll say again, if you're not following him on LinkedIn, please go do it. Really good posts. When you get your email newsletter set up, add me to it. I'd like, add me to it, please. But yeah, for people out there that want to find you, what's the best way?
My website, it's employment-labor-law.com. That will lead you to our intake form if you have a case. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Andrew Lacy Jr. Great way. And now on TikTok at Attorney Lacy.
All right, Andrew. Thanks again, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Founding Partner Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date on the latest episodes. You can also connect with Jonathan on LinkedIn and check out the show notes with links to resources mentioned throughout our discussion by visiting www.lawfirmgc.com. We'll see you next time for more origin stories and insights from successful law firm founders.